Welcome back again after having hopefully a good lunch time. Yes, the hardest job will be the one I have now because I don't know if it's more important to keep you away from fall asleep after lunch or just understand or hopefully to give you some idea, some inspirational idea how company-based work could be meant, how we use it, how we implement it in Switzerland and how we live it every day. So first of all, industry-based learning as the common word to understand the difference between school-based learning and so-called industry-based learning will be one of the points that I will try to explain now. And then it's about how it is organized. How are all the organizations or the involved people really got in the work or got in the responsibility of doing something? That's what I would like to explain. Then how do we understand these roles? Who are involved in this industry-based learning. And yes, then this, because due to my basics or my point of view is it's a gastronomy and hospitality, I think could be a good example, but of course it has to work in every kind of way for industry-based learning. Most of them we understand a little bit the so-named crafted works or professions that will be the central point. And then I think it's also something about the mindset. How do we understand all these roles involved in these industry-based learnings, or how is it the base in Switzerland, if you so want, how it's understood. And then let's talk about permeability. It's in fact also in Switzerland it is possible to get a doctor title even if you're a gardener. So it's possible, and we do it also. In fact, as you saw, our Federal Council, Guy Parmelin, it became one of the most important people. So if you want in Switzerland, or official people, we're all important. And how do we co-work in the time that these 3 years, this profession develops itself, so that the young people, the apprentices, become a professional? And then what we were also asked is to show how we examine. So how do we test in the end of the apprenticeship the quality of the person, of the young person, the young professional, before then they will get really professionals and then hopefully work in the system. Yes, that's more or less what I would like to show you. I saw that there was a workshop on the document, so if you have any question, then just ask. I think it will also be interesting to know on the point where you have a question, or it's also about understanding, do we understand the same under the same word? Maybe also to ask in this moment. Huh? Okay, where do I have to point here? Huh? Okay, good. This more or less I said already. I think first of all, what really is the point of starting this definement of what is, as an example, a cook, what is, as an example, a gardener. How is it meant? Who says? What are the competences? What has this person to learn in the 3 years, let's say 3 years of apprenticeship? And what is the end? When does this person know, let's say, everything that has to be known on this level? And who defines this? In Switzerland, there is a partnership of 3 involved organizations. First of all, and I think this is the most important, are the professional organization. Switzerland knows, like you know also, this group, or the grouped companies, or more entrepreneurs in the same branch, in the same sector. They're organized in some kind of association, And they know the need, or they are experienced also in the need of their sectors, in order to say what is the competence of a gardener, what is the competence of a cook, what is the competence of a housekeeping person, as an example. So this is the professional competence. Then, of course, we have, because also in Switzerland, I think it's more or less clear that after getting out from the primary school in the secondary phase of learning, if you want to, so that the secondary education phase in the life, usually in between 15 and 20, let's say, there is also a growing of general competence, of course. The point is more how many percent will it be professional competence, and how many will it be so-called general competence? And what is general competence? Is it about knowing more mathematics? Is it about knowing another foreign language? Is it about behavior? Is it about legal stuff? So what is it? And in the final, this is something that has to be all over all the professions, more or less the same. And that's why the government, the federal government in our case, gives us, if you so want, guidelines or legal base that says, okay, this is the profession part of this specific profession. It's up to you, up to the sector. But the percentage and also the saying the complete profession needs to have also this point of general knowledge also. And that's what is done about the federal government. So there is some kind of standard for every profession, for these 250 professions we said before, who is defined by the government. And then we have, as we said already, Switzerland is one land, but we have 26 cantons. We'll try to compare it a little bit with your municipalities, but I don't think it's exactly the same. I don't know because the cantons are really strong in Switzerland. It's like America. They're countries in the country. And it's quite hard also in Switzerland to define common rules for every 26 cantons. As Eric before said, we have also 3 different languages. And it's not due just because it's funny to have 3 languages. It's due because Switzerland used to be more or less French, and the part used to be more or less Italian. So there are not only just different languages, but also different understandings of culture, based on the cook. It's sometimes it's like, okay, in Switzerland we're known for fondue, but fondue is just known in the west of Switzerland. So it's really important to know this. But in the east part of Switzerland, it's more about rösti. You know rösti, potato, like yes, okay. And in Ticino, it's maybe known more for panettone. You know, this sweet big thing you eat usually in Christmas time. And these are also like cultural differences that we have to be aware of it in the cantons. But nevertheless, we have a common sense of how is done the apprenticeship in general. How is it done from the professional side? How is it done in the cantons? In the cantons, they have to rule up then the schools are part of the cantons. So when the apprenticeship begins, the apprentices go to school in the cantons, and the cantons need to have also its regularity. They have to be in the rules that are defined by government. They have to be in general in the rules that has to be defined from the associations, from the sectors. But in the end of time, how they do it in the final is part of the cantons. And not only from the regular parts of sites, but also in the different cultural meaning. Genau. So, Next. So if we just look now on the learning path of the apprentice, who has which part in the learning path in this so-called 3 years of the apprenticeship? And if you look at this, there are three parties. For one, there is the company, the work giver, the entrepreneur, the work environment, if you want to. From day one of an apprenticeship, the apprentice goes to the company, and he will be, or she will be socialized, if you want to, in the company. It's not the school that takes the main point of the education, the secondary education. It's not the school, it's the company. And that means that the companies, not only they have to have, if you want to, a little bit more competence in coach a young person or more young persons, not only they need to know a little bit the standards, because we all know you have 100 restaurants or 100 hotels, but not every hotel has the same standard. Not every hotel has the same speciality. Not every restaurant cooks the same way. So it's a lot of differences there between. And this basic standard, there is to be a common sense, and there is to be also a common sense of how you lead a young person when they come from school. So from day one on, they need to have somebody for the orientation. Who is it that says me what I have to do? There are some professions. For an example, I take the cook again. Cutting carrots to be really easy. Maybe something that you can do from day one. Maybe. But if you are in a hairdresser, you cannot cut hair from day one. So how do you develop the competencies of a person? You know, we have all the final scope, but not every profession is developed in the same way. Maybe with a farmer, it's easy to plant something, maybe, but not to drive the tractor. How do you say tractor in English? Tractor. So in the end, it's always the same. In the end, everybody has the same scope, but due to the different situation of the restaurant or the work givers or this company environment, it will be different how they do develop this. But the main part, and this is what we understand under industry-based learning, is that the link to the profession is not done by the school. It's done by the entrepreneur, so the work giver. And then we have the vocational school, of course. We have the vocational school also, the theory part. That was in basic what we mean with dual system, is the interaction of these two parts. 80% is done on the work environment, more or less 80, maybe 90. Depends a little bit also on the professions. There are some professions they have more theoretical work, and there are also professions they have less theoretical work. In the vocational school, this is our two parts. We will tell you after more or less a little bit about hours in our hospitality and gastronomy environment, but vocational school means that some kind of theoretical knowing from the work, from the competence in the sector is also done by school, of course. Because you need to have a standard. You need to know basic things that are always more or less the same. Even if they change, even if they have innovation, but it's still to come back again to the gardener. So how to put a plant in the garden, or how to give water to plants, or whatever, is like you have some standards. So there is more or less the same, and you have to know this type of plant needs more water, this type of plant never will grow in wintertime, whatever. So you have some basics, some standards. And these are educated also by school. So it's like parallel growing of competence. And the other point is the general competence. We need to develop the general competence, such as I said before. We have, foreign languages. In Switzerland, as an example, it is really important to have a second language. I think that's the same more or less also in your environment. You need to know a little bit about taxes. You need to know a little bit about how to do basic mathematics, more or less. You need to have maybe also to grow in the competence of technologies. You need it simply. We have this, but it's not so important in the context of industry-based learning as it is when you would do a general, secondary, classic education because you want to go to the university directly. Your experiences are not just made out from books. Your experiences grow with how you do it by yourself. So if let's say again, if the cook learns how to use, what kind of knives we have, as an example also. It's good to know in theory that you have different types of knives, that you know that this knife is meant for meat and this one is meant for vegetables. But if you do it by yourself and you use it in the kitchen, you will also make this experience. And this is what is the difference about learning in theory and really learning from day one, because there are a lot of works that also young people, of course, it depends a little bit of the complexity of the profession, of course. But if we say again, the craft professions, you have a lot you can do, even if you don't know the theoretical base of this. Just because it's logical, just because somebody leads you, just because this let's say, practice trainer in the company leads you, takes you with you on the roof to say, okay, look, this is ein Ziegel. How is the name of Ziegel? They don't have to sleep, my colleagues, so they have to sometimes to translate something for me. Yes, or let's say when they go, the brick, thank you very much. So, and then we were talking before about standards of what defines a cook, what defines a housekeeping person, what defines a gardener. So you have a more or less total of competences that you say, if you know this kind of competences, then you will have the diploma. So on the national point of view, you will be usable in every company, in every gardener company of our country, more or less. And to make sure that even if somebody works just only they're just doing house gardens, not doing gardens around, parks or something like this in town. There are some competencies that maybe cannot be learned in the environment of the company itself because the company doesn't do, or it's not its speciality. And how do we make sure that, at least also on the practical point of view, the young apprentices have a practical experience of standards? And this practical experience of standards we cover by something named intercompany courses in Switzerland. Intercompany courses are a way, it's not a big time investigation when you was in the total of the 3 years. It's like a little point, but it's some kind of you have some kind of training forms that are more or less general, and you learn the common standards of a cook, of a housekeeping. So even if you don't have the possibility to do this at your work, because every company will be different more or less, I don't know how many companies you can really compare one-to-one. In Switzerland, we said about we have really small companies. The most companies we have are really small. It's about 1 to 9 person. You said, Eric, before. How many percent? 80% of our companies? 99% of our companies. So it will be that these restaurants or these gardening companies, there are hundreds about all of Switzerland, or electrics or whatever. And they still do have a common standard of how it's meant to be a gardener, what it's meant to be a gardener, and what is the standard basic. So there we cover or we link the standards again. That's what they do. Genau. And yes, the main part of time of the apprenticeship, it's on company side. And I think this is the big advantage why I don't know who is now really work giver or entrepreneur here in a house, but this should be the really main point why you should vote for this type of education. Of course, from day one, you cannot, you have a person in your house and maybe the first 6 months, it's you invest a lot of time until this person makes something you can, sell in some kind of way. But then when you did this, you have 2.5 years more to really also gain on this young apprentice. It's not about gaining, but it's not just an investment. That's what I want to say. It's in between. It has to be a win-win situation. You give something, but you get something back. Of course, you pay them. At least I think so. Yes, they got paid, of course. In Switzerland, it's done like this. We have first year, the payment is a little bit less. Second one, it's growing a little bit. Third one is a little bit more. And then when they are professionals, so sometimes it's just 2 weeks in between because they finish their apprenticeship and they gain, 500 euros. And the day after, because they're professionals, they gain 4,000 euro. Could be, don't know your situation, but yes, this is also the one point that you have to be aware of it. That when they stop to be apprenticeships, they are real professionals. Point. There's a straight on a professional way, and the point is that when you have a young person, an apprentice, so they will be how many years? 15, 16 years old when they go in the work, and don't know how in Switzerland, as an example, we have a little bit the problem that people that go study, so they go in the secondary school, general knowledge school, they still have 13 weeks of holiday. They, it's a little bit comfortable if you want to. They don't have to learn when they come after working. They go home and have to learn for the school, for the vocational school. So they feel quite comfortable to continue the school. And it's also something that I don't want to, or let's say I want to talk about it. Also in Switzerland, we have the problem that it is way more attractive to do a secondary school, to do a baccalaureate, because it's better image, it's comfortable. It's more comfortable because it's like you go to school, you have 13 weeks of holiday. You have to do schoolwork, yes. But when somebody makes an apprenticeship, they work usually 8 hours a day, usually 4 days a week. Then they have 1 day a week school, the vocational training. And then after they had the work of 8 or 8.5 hours, they go home and they have to learn. And they don't have 13 weeks of holiday, they have it 6 weeks. This is also something, what I want to say with this is that the attraction of apprenticeship or industry-based learning, it's not only meant about how you get the profession, it's also the surroundings of how you sell it, how you got the marketing on it, how you can provide that the advantages are seen of something like this. Of course, they earn from day one. They don't earn like a professional person that gets out with 20 years as a real professional. But they earn something, and it's about self-confidence. You can do something. You have a sense. You make a sense in between a company. You are part of a team. Quite recent. So from day one on, you can have a role. You can have a scope you have to do in your work day. And it's also something that it's not for everybody. We all know that we have talents. We have talents for people that are more, my daughter, I have twins, and the one of my daughter is like languages. It's like she learns just by the way. And for me, it was clear she would never do an vocational industry-based training because she lives in her head. She doesn't live in her hand. The other one lives in the hand. And this is also about who is talented for what. It's not for everybody the same, of course. But it's also a competence to do something by my hands and to produce something and to have a result in the end of the day. And this is, I think, something that industry-based learning, because in the end the scope of school-based learning is the same. But how you get the way on it, that's the point. Okay. No questions so far? Are you still awake? Yes, you are? Okay. So to do it a little bit by marketing, yes, how is industry, why is this so valuable? Of course you know this, of course it is, because people, or these people get into the working market from day one. So how many people do finish the school usually in general? So how many young people get out of the school end of summer in Latvia? About, in Switzerland it's 65,000. So that means when we go from the 70% rule, it means that in September, 40,000 young people go to work. And of course, they do something that is productive, if you want to. If the companies here inside, or the associations of companies here inside, are really motivated to use this workforce, because it's a huge workforce, huge. So then you have to vote for this industry-based learning. You have to go this way. Of course you will have, when you go this way, it will have differences, because of course you have also things in the now present or used or known way of education are comfortable for you. So because a 15-year-old person may be a little bit more difficult than one who is 20. Maybe they will be a little bit tired. They will be a little bit like, oh, I'm not used to work. I cannot stand the whole day. Don't know. Lots of things around. So there are comfortable things on this school-based learning, but there will be also a lot of really positive aspects if you get on this industry-based learning. But of course, you'll receive 40,000 people, or in our case, but we are 9 million, so I don't know, more or less it will be maybe 30,000 getting out. Ja, irgendwie so etwas, huh? So they go to labor market from day one, and they learn how it's done really in the reality. And maybe the reality of the apprentice in the Radisson Blu will be completely different than the one that works in, where have we been yesterday? Osta? Osta. Oh, yes. It may be a complete different experience that these two people, nevertheless, they do the same job. They will be cooked both in the end of the day. But they will have different experience. But the both will be cooked once a day. And they will have, as I said, maybe the first half year, it's more or less really to invest. But when we see it in our environment, or when we live in our environment, of course, the first days, usually it's like this, that you have one person who starts the apprenticeship in year one, but then next year we'll have somebody who is in year two, and you have the other one coming in the year one. Most of them, they say, so apprentice in year two, coach is the apprentice in year one. So they help each other because they're also more or less the same age. They know what happened. It's not just one person taking care of this apprentice. It's the whole group taking care of this apprentice. these roles in between a company, of course, it depends also a little bit on how big a company is. We have a lot of companies that have just one apprentice, year 1, year 2, year 3, because they simply cannot invest the time, not lose, but not invest time in 3 persons, because yes, you have also to earn money, or you have to do your job in the end of time. But you have really a proximity to the labor market also for the person. The person in the Radisson Blu learns completely something different that the person in the restaurant has been yesterday. But also they mix. When they come together in the school, everybody has a different experience. They talk also to each other. So if we're talking about innovation, it comes by itself. Because what is asked in the market of Letland, in the restaurants, will be the experience of the sum of the apprentices coming together in a school. So you don't have this separated theoretical knowing of something who is not influenced all the time by innovation. And not only because you have good professional teachers, which hopefully learn all the time of what is new, what are the influences, but you have also the young people coming and then also having maybe a question or they ask, listen, I had this and this fish. I didn't understand how to do. Tell me now. And maybe the fish don't know is something new didn't have before. So it's something that influences from both sides. It's not just top down, it's also bottom up. Yes, then we have the practical orientation. Of course, they have practical orientation. Maybe it's also a little bit about talents or the characters of our young people. Not everybody is done just for learning, as I said before with my twins. Maybe for somebody it's also good to do something else, because time doesn't pass sitting just in the table. For somebody it's okay, but for the other one it's okay doing something. Time passes faster. I feel more sense in my life. Yes, that may be also something that we can influence, or we can give something back. I think you cannot force everybody to go to work, but you cannot force everybody. It's not good to force everybody to continue the school. Maybe it's also something that you can use in a positive way for your market, for the labor market. And then, yes, of course, we have a permeability. It's so called. You have it also, because everybody in Letland is meant to go until university. Everybody has the possibility to be a doctor one day. From school part of view, then the other one is talent and knowledge and even motivation maybe. It's the same also in Switzerland. The point is that we're not doing different things. In the end of the day, we want cooks, we want housekeepers, we want gardeners, we want farmers. It's just the way how we get them. How is the way to achieve the goal. But also in Switzerland, there is a wide possibility, possibilities to gain. Then afterwards, maybe you do first practical work. You know your practice as a cook, as a gardener, and then you combine this with general knowledge. So we do it vice versa. But it's always possible, also in Switzerland. And this is also something, I suppose, it's also the point of success of our Swiss training or educational path that we have. Genau. Let's go one further. Yes, now to explain it a little bit more, like in the normal day or in the usual surroundings of gastronomy or hospitality, what also, or we are convinced, what also changes when you do it more in a practical way, when you do industry-based learning, it's that you don't work in building up knowledge, theoretical knowledge. You build it up in Erfahrung, in experience. Thank you. Sometimes it's like words, they don't come, but you build it up with experience, and the experience is different. But the point is that really, if you have a lot of cooks in different restaurants, in different environments, you have more different examples and experience in different contexts. It's always cook. But the one maybe is more, I don't know, fast kitchen or high kitchen, high restaurants, or just, don't know, vegetarian systems. So we, in Switzerland, just to say, if somebody doesn't know to do meat, you excuse me, he's not a cook in the eyes of the cooks. But in general, you have also vegetarian kitchens, or healthy kitchen. You have also people working in the kitchen of hospitalities, or residences for maybe elder people, don't know. So a lot of different situations. But yes, their training, mostly work-based, contains really also to examine the current food trends, because it's just the market. The market influences the knowledge. It's more the market to influence the knowledge. It's less the school to influence it. This is the difference. And it's the same also in restaurant, and of course also in housekeepings. It's always the different context leads you to the experience, but it's not forced always the same experience. And from the part of view of the training company or the entrepreneur who takes an apprentice, I think, or I say it like this, when somebody comes from school, they learn the basics, they know how to keep the knife, they know how to cut the carrot, but they know it just in the standard way. Maybe you need it in a different way, because it's just done different in your restaurant or in your environment. So if you influence this person from day one, they will cut it like you want to, and it's also right. But then it's okay when they learn also, okay, this is the theoretical kind to cut the carrots. It's not wrong. It's just a different way to get to it. And the point is about what is the scope of the companies to have these people from day one in their environment, because they help you gain your money, of course. And they do it exactly the same way you want it. And it's not bad to want that you have people, or also these young apprentices, that they help you gain money. It's not a fault to think like this. Of course, you cannot use them just as as cheap workers. It's not about this, but it's a win-win situation. You give something, you give your experience. It's in some kind of way, it's a logical point. You give your experience in order to serve from more working hands to gain or to develop your business. It's not a fault. It's not by the way, it's not a problem to say it also. In the end of the day, we all want happy people doing something with sense and pay taxes in the end of the day. So why not? Genau. Gut. So yes, just to make maybe a little point again on one profession. What happened in Switzerland the last, let's say, 10, 15 years, it's to get away a little bit from theoretical knowledge. Just know how many types of carrots we have, how many types of knives we have, and to go there and say, you have to cut this kind of carrot. What type of knife will you take in order to have the best result, and why? So it's like going away from basic knowledge, from theoretical knowledge, but how will you reach the goal? Where do you want to go? And what would be the best? It's not just one possibility, more possibilities. What is the best way to reach the goal? And of course, in our really individual world, we're becoming more and more individual. We are not so near as we were before, maybe. Also, the individuality is not just done in the jobs, but it's in our whole life. So there are many ways to do something. And the point is that there's not yes, of course, you have a theoretical base that has to be more or less the same, but the point is you can reach the goal in different ways. And also, these apprentices, due to this point, are more motivated maybe or developed in thinking by themselves how they have to reach the goal. So it's also about these practical trainers in the companies, how you develop also the self-confidence of a person being an apprentice first, but then becoming a professional. Hopefully he will stay in your company after when they finish their apprenticeship, and being a productive person you can really use in our environment, who reaches or who combines, gives the talent or this workforce in your company. It's the same also for restaurant service or for housekeeping. These are the three main professions we have in gastronomy. Of course, there's also hospitality, like reception, that changes a lot. But as I said before, the point is that when you have housekeeping people just working all in the same way, in the same school, doing the same thing every day, you will not have this influence from outside, because a lot of companies have a much broader competence or way to do something, to reach the goal. And the more experience you just have it on a natural way, because you have 20 people in the vocational school, but these 20 people, 4 days a week, they are in completely different environments. And they come and they have different ideas from stuff like they do it or from how to reach the goal. And this is the main point, but because you will, of course, even if you have the apprenticeship in your house, it's always the same, maybe 3 years. But they have colleagues doing the same thing in other environments. And of course, you will have a profit from the other ideas of these colleagues in the school. Of course you will have. It's logical. So what changes in the really basic behavior of doing something? If you do vocational training, it's about learning from day one how to do it the right way. Avoid every kind of mistake. That when they go, once they go for a practical training in the working environment, they should know from day one already what they should have to do. But this is simply not reachable because we have different companies. We have hundreds of farmers, but don't know if it's hundreds, I don't know, in your environment, are they more or less the same, doing all the same? More or less, yes? More or less, there are differences. Genau. So it's not about doing it perfect from day one, because you don't have just the professional competence or the general competence. You have also some kind of social skills. You have also characters. You have also, so there's a lot of stuff also influencing the whole productivity, if you want to, from a person. The point is that the Swiss system don't goes out from the point of view when you go to work, you know just everything in every environment, but it's more about learning by doing or knowing that there have to be mistakes. There have to be points that you simply don't know how to do. And it's okay. So you develop this. And the point is, yes, there is a written, you know better what it's right when you also know what it's wrong, of course. But the point is really to accept that somebody coming in a process Now it's done by school because they go to school. They learn from day one, okay, these are the knives you use in the kitchen. Yes, but when you go in a restaurant, there's just 2 knives. You just learn these 2 knives. So that means that when you go in another restaurant, maybe you don't know the 3rd knife, but you know it, the complete, you know in the school, the complete, the total. But maybe you don't know how to cut, carrots again, because you never used carrots before, and it's okay. So you learn this also. It's really about different thinking of how the process is made to get the more or less total of what is meant a professional person in the environment of kitchen. Yes, we were talking about permeability, so that's maybe the change of the. We're talking about industry-based learning. Now we go a little bit more to the examination. But in our point of view, Eric this morning showed you our education system in Switzerland. But just to let you know, it's not meant that you can read this. Huh? It's not meant. But just to make you show the numbers of possibilities. So there is a growing in competence. There is also a growing of the specializing your competences in a, if you so want to, in a really narrow speciality point of view. So if you get a cook, of course you can do then, business administration. Of course you can do then sales competencies. Of course you can do being a trainer maybe, so this, or informatics specialist. But of course you can also be one of the best master chefs. And so you can develop your competencies in this really narrow but really specialized, highly specialized competence. And this is something that it's really in Switzerland quite known, and it's also that an executive master chef, we're not talking about earning, but we said it before. It's not about earning. It's not somebody that does a profession or a craft-oriented profession earns less than somebody that did studies. Of course, a doctor, somebody gets a doctor, he will probably earn more than somebody doing working in a garden maybe. But it depends also if he will be an entrepreneur, then he will maybe earn even more than a doctor does in a hospital. But the point is that you can really highly you can form yourself, or you could train yourself in a really highly professional way without, let's say, having the need of a general competence in the same way that somebody has to when they want to go to university. I think this is the point. And here, what you see is in Switzerland, we have really the chef, we have the restaurant, we have also this kind of system gastronomy. It's more or less what we saw today, that it's prepared already and you just serve yourself, but it's some kind of different art of kitchen, of serving dishes. We know this as a special competence or a special profession in Switzerland, and guest relation officers, it's quite wide, just in our environment, and it's the same more or less in the most sectors, you know. So, I said it before that we will talk just shortly about the percentage of where does a student or an apprentice pass the most time during the apprenticeship. And you see it here. Maybe I will start from the basic point. When going up from the point that a person during this apprenticeship is 4 days a week, if we go out from 5 days a week, but it's more or less the same also here in Letland, or it's 5 days. So 4 days a week, they go to work in the company. And just 1 day a week, and only if they don't have holidays, because then in the vocational school, they have also 13 weeks of holidays, like students have, but just in the vocational school. So that means that when they don't have summer holidays or winter holidays in school, they still work. So it's maybe more than these 180 days. And in all kind of way, it's the absolute most time during the apprenticeship that is experienced workforce for the entrepreneurs, but experienced work for the apprentice in the companies. And just 1 day a week per year, also these more or less 38, 40 days, are vocational school. And of course, there is not the possibility, because we learned that nowadays it's 30% general knowledge in the school-based vocational educational training and 70% professional training. Of course, it is not possible in our environment if you want to, because they simply don't have the time. But maybe it's funny, but it seems to be really important in Switzerland. You have 120 lessons of sports in Switzerland. They need to be done. It's good. So that's why we are also in shape, more or less. I don't know. But it's really, so it's in our legal base that they have to do sports also. And we have more or less 360 lessons of general education, of course, but it's not meant above the complete industrial-based learning phase. It's just in these 38 days. So it's a 30% of the vocation of the school training, but it's just this 30% in school training. And the other 600 lessons are also meant for the practical competence, standard competence to grow this, of course. Huh? And then, as I said, these intercompany courses, now in our context, it's just 8 days per year. That means 3 years, 24, 25 days in the whole apprenticeship. It depends a little bit of the profession. There are more professions that they need more, if you so want, intercompany competence, because maybe they have also some system relevance, like electronics, companies who do something who is really, you have standards in a land, that the standards are always the same, so it maybe also be higher. But you see the percentage of where does the person develop its professional competences. Still not any questions. You will have later. Okay. I just want to make sure that you're not sleeping. That's the whole point. Yeah. Okay, then let's talk a little bit about how we make sure that they really, because these three parts they are forced to work together. It's not possible that somebody reaches out and makes something completely different, or there's no rule in between these three influencing groups of partners that are influencing this apprenticeship. Like, we talk from learning cooperation. We cooperate each other together in order to get the apprentice, to make the apprentice a professional. And until now, we didn't talk about like digital competencies also in our environment, because also people working in a restaurant, of course, we have a lot of handcrafted work, but we have also cooks, also housekeeping people. Why don't they know, or they need to know how a computer is used. Also, they need to use computers in the day. So why not also doing the whole learning experience, the theoretical learning experience, the practical learning experience in a digital system? Our system that was developed more or less for our hospitality sector. And I think it's one of the most complete systems that everybody, that means the practical trainers in the company, the vocational school, and the intercompany courses, everybody's on the same system. And they follow the learning path of every apprentice in the same system. That's something that's quite new. And yes, it was not always easy. And yes, we have a lot of work still to do. It's like with every informatics system. Informatics is like, they never start when they have 100%. They start when they have 60%, and then the rest will be developed with experience. So that's also something. But what we are doing, they have, so the practice way, I know it's a little bit small. Oh, sorry, that was my fault. They have the practice, you see, it's like, we call it donut. Huh? We call it donut, and the scope is to fulfill it 100%. That's a little bit the point. Huh? And so you have the practice work to do, you have the competences, because when you do practice, you still have to fulfill 100% of all the competencies you need to learn when you do practice. And then it's all also the school path. And the point is that the company where the person works and the intercompany courses, they need to interact one with the other. And it's done also by this system. So this system helps us to do this. From the point of view of the apprentice, she has a learning path to pass through. And if you want so, when he has 100% of this learning path, but not everybody does it at the same time in the same way. So the different kitchens or different restaurants may have another point to get to the scope. But at the end, everybody has to have 100% of the competences. And just to let you know, how do we get this standard? So we have a lot of paper, of course. We have a lot of paper that defines what does that mean in the practical environment of a cook. Of course, you need paper. But this paper is not just done by school. It's done by the co-working of the whole three partners, if you want to. And the point is that we are not talking we just talk to the apprentice, and when we said everything, he knows everything. So it's about how do we support this apprenticeship in the most best way in order to get them to the goal. And what is defined? There is, of course, the practical experience on the workplace. There is a plan. Of course, you need this so-called curriculum in your environment. Yes, there is some content. There are assessments. We're talking about assessment also. And of course, there's a qualification procedure also. And we will talk then later on the last 5 minutes also about this procedure, but I would like to show you. So let's see if it will work. To show you a small film, more or less in English, about experience of these three working places or these three places that how they work together. So I don't know, shall I click here on, or would you? I do.
What and how we learn today shapes our future. Learning today takes place in many places. Wiggle connects them all. It is the first learning management system that systematically and seamlessly connects all three learning locations of Swiss vocational education. This creates a shared space for digital, practice-oriented, and individual learning. The focus is on the apprentices. With Wiggle, they are accompanied through all phases of their training, interactive, clear, and tailored to their needs. The accompanying persons also benefit. Learning progress, training reports, and practical assignments can be viewed at any time for targeted, efficient support. As an instructor of intercompany courses, I use legal tools on a daily basis. This allows me to combine theory and practice. Thanks to the library with the step-by-step guide, my apprentices can better understand the practical work to be done. For me as a teacher, being able to work with Wiggle is a great enrichment. I can access a large amount of specialist knowledge at any time. I can support my apprentices individually. the apprentices have everything stored in one place. They can place their own files here, they have the specialist knowledge, and they also have the tasks they can solve. At any time, I can very creatively create new tasks and thus also live out my creativity in teaching. I think it is a very cool program that makes things much easier for me because I have an overview of the learning progress. At any time, I can see how far each one is. This gives me an excellent overview, and that is why Wiggle has become indispensable for me. We in the company, and I as a practical trainer, really enjoy working with the Wiggle learning platform. It is clear and easy to use, you can find your way around well, and so do the apprentices. There are great step-by-step instructions when you give them a task where they need to inform themselves and acquire knowledge. That always works very well. We too can access specialist knowledge anytime and anywhere, whether on the mobile phone or on the computer, and that makes everyday work much easier. Administrative tasks can be handled centrally and digitally with Wiggle quickly, clearly, and in a time-saving way. A year ago, we started with the Wiggle platform. For us, it was a great relief. You can bring together the 3 learning locations. You can see what they are doing at vocational school. When the intercompany course is closed, you can even see how it went there and which topics they worked on. This way, you are always up to date. For us, the administrative workload has been greatly reduced. You can follow the trends they had in the training reports, take them over, add to them, and also send them back right away, so that parents are kept informed as well. In this way, you actually have the 3 involved, the apprentice, the company, and the parents, all in the same boat. I can always see the learning progress of my apprentices across all 3 learning locations at a glance. For us, a great relief and a step into the right digital age. Wiggle is not only usable for all professions, it is a system with many possibilities and for all models, whether for your personal coaching company or the entire educational landscape of a basic education. We continuously develop our digital tools with interactive learning paths, gamification elements, e-portfolios, and multimedia content. A learning environment is created that excites and appeals to all senses. We are a family business with over 40 years of experience. Together, we shape the future of digital learning. Do you want to shape the digital education world of tomorrow? Wiggle supports you with experience, flexibility, and innovative solutions. Wiggle, digital learning.
Thank you. So it was a little bit marketing also from this company that works on this, but just to let you see that it is possible also in really crafted professions also to work absolutely to create this digital competence also, because we just simply cannot make without. And so they're learning ongoing also these digital competencies. Just to give an idea how they are linked one to each other. These 3 learning places in the industrial-based learning in our environment. Good. Just to finalize, we were also asked to show you how do we test in the end of the apprenticeship, the qualification of every person. And I think something that really is special in Switzerland, or in our point, how we understand industrial-based learning, is that they're not getting promoted from one year to the other. They don't have to do exams one year after the other. They don't have to be like you need to have your points or you will not get in the next year. Of course you have it also, because if somebody is simply not done for the job, so they will drop out. Of course, they will on the general competence point of view, but also on the practical competence point of view. But in general, it's like you develop this competence, and what companies are doing is like working with their apprentices, working on this experience, and this experience influences the final quote of the exam when they finish, or when they do their final qualification, and it's a 30% of the weighting of the final qualification. So for the whole 3 years, it's not just made with tests, but it's made with experienced work that is all the time coached by the practical trainer in the company. So they have to do, of course, also a little bit of job and motivate and promote their apprenticeships. General education is just at 20%. So you see, we don't define this such important in order or if you want to combine the practical competence. So the practical competence is the most important point also of the qualification procedure. So yes, at the end of these 3 years, they have an examination. Of course, they have a phase where they do have to do their final qualification. They have to go to school and deliver something, showing their knowledge. Of course, they have to, but it's not, the weight is just this 50%. And that's, I think, also a point to show how important is the practical part when they do industry-based learning. And in this qualification, because, as I said, you can have so many different situations. So let's get out of this, because I'm quite a little bit out of time. Huh? I mentioned this before. The point is not about that everybody cuts the carrot in the same way. The point is to make a dish with carrots and choose how you prepare them and to explain why you do it this way. It's not just one way. So it depends on what kind of experiences you made in your apprenticeship environment, and to do it in a way that's not the way that seems correct, but in a way that seems right to achieve the goal. And that is making the guest happy, so that they like to pay for the dish. This is the skill orientation, and I think that the point how we do it in Switzerland is that really it's practical training first. It's practical competence first. It's not about being everybody the same. It's about developing the competences in a special environment with, yes, of course, some standards. But these standards are not that important. The importance is to fulfill a work in order to get it sold on the market, if you want to. You have to do something that it's asked on the market. And we live this until the qualification process in the industry-based learning in Switzerland. Thank you very much. What? You don't have any time anymore to do it?
I'm one better.
Okay.
So, questions to Sabrina?
Paldies. There's professional standards and competences. So the professional standards, do you updating them as well? How often? But you already was mentioned, and they are not so important, but generally they are.
Yeah, of course they are. So what we do, because the federal government is also in the game, as I said, we have some kind of legal standards that we have to fulfill. The point is that every 5 years, we have to make sure that the general standards are still fulfilling the needs of the most companies in the. So most of the time, there's also these associations who define the standards. We have to do it every 5 years, and sometimes it's like, oh no, we don't need to change anything, and sometimes it's about, oh yes, we need to change so much that we have to recreate the complete profession. Because nowadays we don't need any more bookbinders, we call them. So why do this? Or maybe it's another definition. Yes, of course you have this every 5 years. Or we are forced more or less to do this.
Any more questions?
Okay.
Question from my side. Actually, apprenticeship program requires structured input from a company as well. How do you help, if you do, those companies providing apprenticeship opportunities to be pedagogically sound and structured?
How we get this pedagogical competence in a company?
In the company, so that they know how to give this apprenticeship practice.
That's why we have our colleagues that form our practical trainers, because of course you have the practical trainers if you want to in the school, because you have the school-based training for the competence, but you have it also on the company side. And yes, they need to be formed. And there are some kind of courses, if you want to, that they have to fulfill, but they could really, also with Switzerland is not so big, and it's the same in your part. So most of the people you saw also in the film are colleagues of us, are, if you want to, the most motivated people, which help also to develop. So they're in the groups. We come together every year once at least and talk about, okay, what we need to change, what for experience that you have to do. But there is of course a standard of how they will be trained on their didactical or methodological competence. Yes, in some kind of way. It's not that they need to study for this.
Okay.
First of all, they need to be professionals, motivated professionals.
Okay.
And social skills. Social skills always helps. So that's clear.